Hi everyone and welcome to Studio Design. My name is Lina and in today's video I'm going to be attempting to make a plaid polymer clay king. So let's get started. And as usual, I'm making my sketch on paper first so I know how I want my future cane to look like. Here's my sketch. My cane is going to consist out of 4 squares, 2 green ones, 1 red one, and I'm going to add the stripes that crossing in the middle. For that I'm going to be using 4 different colors of the polymer clay. And I'm starting by flattening 3 colors of the polymer clay on the same level of thickness. And after that, I start cutting out little squares so all of the details are of the same size. I'm cutting out 6 pieces of each color. I'm covering the clay with the plastic wrap just to avoid clay being stuck inside the cutter. And then sometimes plastic wrap getting stuck to the clay, so I'm just removing it. After that, I'm connecting the squares of the same color into little cubes. And after that, using a flat surface, I am pressing on those 3 cubes. And yes, I know I missed one of the green cubes. I'm gonna figure it out later and add it on. As of right now, I'm making sure that all of the cubes are of the same size. They not necessarily need to be the cubes. They can be like rectangular shape, but as long as they all the same size, that's gonna be fine. Here I also noticed that my white cube was a little bit larger than 2 other ones, so I'm kind of like shaving off extra clay by pressing the same size cutter through that cube, making my cube a little bit smaller. And again, I'm making sure that they all of the same size and it's approximately or as close as possible to the same amount of clay in each cube. And here we are, I added 1 more green cube here, and also I already flattened darker green and red color for the stripes pattern. I also combined my cubes into the pattern that I'm gonna be following, also pressing them on together. Now it's time to add on those stripes, and for that I'm gonna be slicing green and white clay cubes in half. I'm making the first cut and the second cut, and as you can see I have 3 parts now, little white cube and green and white. And after that I start attaching green and red slices together, also making sure that they are of the same size. I'm slicing off the excess on the edges using the cutter. After that, I'm adding on that piece on top of the green clay. And again, making sure that it's the same size. I'm just slicing off excess of the clay. Doing the same procedure with another green side, light green side. So now both sides are covered and I need to add on that cross section into the white clay. For that, I'm again just attaching green and red together and slicing it in half. Adding on top and next to that previous slice I was adding on, making sure I follow the colors. Adding the second half on top of another side. So this is the inner part that it's already ready, and now I just need to add that cross section that matching the size of this clay. Here I was out of the clay already and the piece that I left over was a little bit too small, so I added on another green and red square. And here I'm just adding on, see how much I need, and just cutting off excess. And here how it looks like so far, and I'm just adding on that white piece of the clay, and now I can start shrinking the clay. Also, because I added those stripes in the middle of the green and white clay, the size of those cubes got a little bit larger, and I just decided to add on a little bit extra red clay on the sides, as you can see. And after that I start shrinking it, and I start shrinking the cane. I'm using my roller pin and that plastic flat lid. I'm just stamping and pressing little by little. Eventually the clay is gonna get softer and it's gonna start stretching out. I'm trying not to press too much so I don't mess up the colors that are inside, and every time I'm switching and turning the clay, I'm making sure that those stripes and all the colors are following the pattern and not bending or changing the direction. And here's the process. I speed it up a little bit. Here's how small I make and shrink my cane into. After that, I'm cutting off the excess on the side because pattern there is already lost. So I'm just slicing it in half, checking how it looks. And here's how pattern looks like. As you can see, it got a little bit smeared along the way. It is very hard to shrink the cane with patterns like that have to be very precise and shrink it in a way that it doesn't move, especially like the line and those squares that were supposed to be for the plaid pattern. But again, it takes some practice. This is my first attempt making that cane. I believe for like another few attempts it would be more precise and neat. So after that, I'm dividing my cane in half, attaching it together, then pushing the clay together a little bit, slicing it again in half, and following the pattern, I'm attaching clay cane on top of each other. And by doing so, I'm gonna create that Plaid pattern. So this is how 4 pieces on top of each other look like. I decided to slice it again in half and attach following the pattern. So here's how it looks like so far. From the distance, it doesn't look as bad. Whenever you see it in, like up close, you can see that the lines in the squares are smeared a little bit. And after that, I'm just slicing equal size slices of that cane and attaching them again following the pattern. And here's how it looks like. I'm going over with the rolling pin, covering the piece with the paper. You can add on like the parchment paper, baking paper, just not to like smear the pattern even more than it already is. And here's how it looks like. I wanted to make the earrings out of it. I cut out the shapes and baked them, but then I forgot to add the holes before I added the epoxy resin, so I messed up a little bit. So I don't have any earrings out of it, but here's how those details are looking like. And this is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching.